Assalamu alaikum dear friends. Today in this lecture we will be talking about the enzymes and we will discuss many things about enzymes, like what is the root meaning of the enzyme, who coined the word enzymes, and with this we will also discuss the definition of enzymes, and after that we will also discuss that how an enzyme can increase the speed of a reaction. First of all, let's start from the word enzymes. If we analyze, the enzymes word is basically from the Greek language, and in Greek language the enzymes word is basically a compound name which having two parts, one is en and another is zymes. So in mean inside in Greek or in, enzymes mean yeast, and we know that yeast is a fungi. So this is about the root meaning of the enzymes. Now, who gave this name enzymes? So if we analyze, before the word enzymes, the substance which was helping to increase the speed of a reaction was termed as the ferments. Ferments. Enzymes was known as ferments before the name enzymes. The substance which can increase the speed of a reaction was termed as ferments rather than enzymes. But in 1878, there was a German physiologist by the name of Wilhelm Cohen. In 1878, a German physiologist by the name of Wilhelm Cohen has coined the name enzymes for that substance which helping in the reaction by increasing the speed of a reaction. So this is about the root meaning of the enzymes, as well as what was the name before enzymes for that substance which can increase the speed of a reaction. So we have discussed that it was termed as ferments, but later on in 1878, Wilhelm Cohen, who was from Germany and he was a physiologist, so he coined the name enzymes for the substance which can increase the speed of a reaction. Now dear friends, let's go into minute details. If you analyze how we can term a living body as living body, we know that if there are few characteristics like respiration, like growth, like reproduction, and furthermore if we discuss homeostasis, like excretion, like movement. So all these characteristics are very much special. Because of these characteristics, we can term a body as living. So if a body having these characteristics, like if that body can respire, that body can have growth, that body can have reproduction, that body can have homeostasis, that body can have excretion, so we will term that body as living body. Let's suppose if this is the marker, so it cannot having respiration, neither it can grow, neither it can reproduce, neither it having homeostasis, and neither it having excretion, and nor it having movement. So all these characteristics are lack in this marker, so that's why we cannot term this marker as living. But if we analyze ourselves, so we can respire, we can grow, we can reproduce, we can have homeostasis, and we can have excretion. So because of these characteristics, we are living body. The characteristics which we are possess are because of the biochemical reactions which taking place inside our body. Let's suppose if we are growing, so why do we grow? Because we eat food, and that food getting to our body, and our body digesting that food, then we are getting energy from that food. Furthermore, our body having cell division, and because of cell division we are growing. The growing of a living body is basically the result of the biochemical reactions which are taking place within a living body. So as I discussed, that all these characteristics are the output or the result of the biochemical reactions which are taking place within a living body, and those biochemical reactions are termed as metabolism. Metabolism. What is metabolism? Metabolism is basically the collection of all biochemical reactions that are inside our body. Now this metabolism having two basic types. One is anabolism, and the second type is catabolism. Now what is anabolism and what is catabolism? Anabolism is that type of metabolism in which the small and simpler molecules will join together to form large and complex molecule. So that process is known as anabolism. And what is catabolism? In catabolism, larger molecule will break down into simpler and smaller molecule. So such process is called catabolism. Now when we are saying that smaller molecule or simpler molecule will join together to form larger molecule, so we can observe that here is like construction of larger molecule from a simpler one and smaller one. So this anabolism is called as constructive process. Metabolism is constructive process because here we can see construction of larger molecule from the simpler and smaller molecule. And in this catabolism, as we have discussed, that the larger molecules will break down into the smaller one. So we can see that there is a kind of destruction. So that's why the catabolism is also known as a destructive process. Now my dear friends, let's understand these two concepts with the help of examples. If we analyze anabolism, example will be photosynthesis. And the example of catabolism will be respiration. So the example of such constructive process is photosynthesis, while the example of such destructive process is respiration. Now let me tell you this thing with the help of the reaction of photosynthesis as well as respiration. Like we know that plants using carbon dioxide as well as water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, and if you observe here, carbon dioxide is a smaller molecule as well as water is also a smaller molecule. So these two when joined together giving us a bigger molecule, a complex molecule, which is glucose. This is a big larger molecule as compared to carbon dioxide and water. And we also get oxygen, water. So let's balance it. So as I have told you that anabolism is a constructive process because these smaller molecules like carbon dioxide and water, they are combined, joined together and has formed a larger molecule which is glucose. So this is a kind of construction, and that's why we term the anabolism as a constructive process. Now let's discuss the reaction of respiration. So we know that in respiration the glucose molecule, which is a larger molecule, a complex molecule, in the presence of oxygen, it will break down into carbon dioxide plus water, and we will get energy. So just observe here, we know that glucose is a larger molecule, and this glucose getting break down into carbon dioxide and water, which is, as compared to glucose, are very smaller and simpler molecules. So we know that here a kind of destruction has taken place, and that is glucose into carbon dioxide and water. So that's why we are saying that because of this destruction, the catabolism is a destructive process. So these processes always occur with the help of enzymes. Now my dear friends, as I told you that the reactions which are taking place within our body are always taking place with the help of enzymes. So let me give you an example for your better understanding. If I consider myself or ourselves as a factory, let's suppose we are saying that our body is just like a factory. So in our body, which we are having enzymes, it will be just like there are machines in the factory. There are machines in the factory. So as the machine working in the factory, like the machine taking the raw material and converting those raw material into the products. So as our body having enzymes, and due to enzyme there are different reactions which taking place, in which the reactants getting converted into the products. So I think that this example will really help in the concept of enzymes. Now let me tell you the definition of enzyme, how we can define enzymes. So enzymes can be defined so that these are biological catalysts. These are biological catalysts which speeds up the biochemical reactions within the body without getting consumed. So enzymes are getting synthesized, formed in a living body and working to increase the rate and speed of a chemical reaction that taking place within a living body. And the most important thing is that while enzymes increasing the speed of a biochemical reaction, but it does not get consumed by itself. What does it mean? Let's suppose we are having enzyme plus substrate. Substrate is that substance which coming in contact with the enzyme. So when enzyme and substrate they are joined together, so they are forming enzyme substrate complex. Substrate complex. And when the enzymes substrate complex are being formed, so after that we can see that enzyme will be detached from the substrate and will convert the substrates into the products. So if you analyze here, the enzyme is in his own position, while enzyme has converted the substrate into the product. So it does not getting converting into the products. So it is not consumed. About the enzymes definition and explanation. Now, as we have discussed that it increasing the speed of a biochemical reaction. Now, how it can increase the speed of a biochemical? Enzymes increase the speed of a biochemical reaction by lowering the activation energy. So we can say that enzymes lower the activation energy. Now the question is, what is an activation energy? So let's understand this. Activation energy. Activation energy is also termed as energy of activation, and it is denoted by EA. It is denoted by EA. E for energy and A for activation. So let's define it. Activation energy is the minimum amount of energy, which is required to convert the reactants into products. Activation energy or energy of activation is that energy which is in a minimum amount required for the reactants to get converted into the products. Let's suppose we are having the reactants like AB and CD. So these are reactants, so we can write it like these are reactants. Reactants are those substances which starting a reaction. So we see that A and B having a bond and C and D having a bond. Now to start this reaction, first of all it is must to break these bonds. So that energy which can break these bonds is termed as activation energy. Now let me tell you that if the activation energy is high, that means that these bonds will be too much strong, and when the bonds are too much strong, then the products will form very less. So let's also make the products like A, B, C and D. So how the products will form? When these bonds are broken and new bonds are formed, like the bond between A and C and B and D, and the bonds which was in the bond which were there, and the bonds which were there in between A and B like this one and C and D like this one has been broken. So at the result of the reaction we have got this. So these are the products. So products are those substances which getting synthesized as a result of a reaction. We can know this, that if a reaction having high activation energy, that means that reaction will be very slow. And on the other hand, if the reaction required very less activation energy, that reaction will having very high speed. Now, as we have written that enzymes lower the activation energy. So if the enzyme lowering the activation energy, that means indirectly it increasing the speed of a reaction. Let me make a graph for you so that you can understand this more better. Let's suppose we are having this graph and here are reactants, and in this way we will show the reaction path, the reaction going in this side, and here we will show the energy. So if these reactants want to convert into the products, so it has to cross this barrier. After crossing this barrier, it will give products. Now, by crossing this barrier, these reactants will give products. So if you analyze here, by crossing this barrier, it needs energy, and that energy is activation energy. So we will just denote it by EA. And you should also remember this EA or this activation energy is without enzymes. So we can write no enzymes are used here. But at the same time, if we give enzymes to this, now if you analyze here, the activation energy is very less. So this is EA once again, but with enzymes. Enzymes are used here. So when the enzymes are used here, so we see that the activation energy is very less, and without enzyme the activation energy was very much. So this is without enzymes and this activation energy with enzyme. So we can see that these reactants having very less barrier to get convert into the products. So with it having very less barrier, so its speed will be very much, and it can easily form the products in more high speed. So in this way, the enzymes can speed up a biochemical reaction. So enzymes helping in taking the reactant too closely with one another, and the old bonds within the reactants getting break down and new bonds getting formed. At the result, the products are being formed. So in this way, the speed of the reaction getting increased.